welcome to another edition of Do It for the Clips, but we might be changing that podcast name after my conversation with Joe here, but let's welcome my good friend Joe Abasera, otherwise known as the Kingzletter. You may have seen him on Instagram. He's blowing up, incredible guy. Turns out we live about 10 miles from each other, and we met a couple of months ago, just hit it off, and just like have been talking ever since, so... Joe, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me, man, and I'm excited that you're posting it as a podcast.
Yeah. So,
that's good.
So I was going to tell you. So the original reason that I did this was I have a short form video agency called Short Form Media, and I know the power of just like genuine conversation, right?
Yeah.
You just get great clips, you get natural ability, you don't get that fakeness that comes through when you're like trying to record a video.
Yeah.
So I figured, why don't I just sit down with some of the most interesting people I know, right? Get some clips. And then it's a great way of promoting both their business and mine. Do a couple of collabs, do a couple of things, and like show the power of what short form video can do. So it's literally my business, but in a conversation format where the guest gets benefit as well. So,
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's smart. We were actually talking about it before we ended up recording, how it's always better to get organic content. And the idea of double dipping, right? Where you have your clients are happy because you get to give content to your clients, while simultaneously you get to record for yourself. It's very smart. You're a good businessman, and I like it. You know, I gotta say.
I try. I've been around the block a few times. I did 3 startups, from funding to acquisition. But
can you tell me, because you always talk about those startups, but you never say what the hell those startups were. So what the hell were those? What are those 3 startups? And by the way, wait, age of each startup and what each startup was.
So when I was 21 years old, when I was 21, I started my first startup. I mean, if you want to go back, I had like an IT firm that I did like on my own when I was in high school and college.
What'd you offer? What kind of?
Just IT services in the neighborhood, that sort of thing. I ended up working for an IT firm in the city, did like celebrity stuff, celebrity IT, which was fun. And then I believe I was in college. Yeah, I was in college. You know what? We're really going back. First thing was like a frozen yogurt store, but that's besides the point.
That's a startup, by the way. That's a great business.
So then I have 4 startups.
Yeah, okay.
3 tech, 1 food. Okay. So the first startup was a frozen yogurt store called Berrylicious. 19 years old when I opened that. This was when Pinkberry was like super, super hot. And there were like frozen yogurt stores all over the place. Happens to be my wife now is like, you got to bring it back. There's no more frozen yogurt. So I'm trying to focus right now and not bring it back. Second startup I did, I was 21. It was an app called Chalkable. It was an education technology platform for K-12 schools. So like a learning management system, basically like Blackboard, but it didn't suck. We were pretty early. It was an app store for schools. So we noticed a gap where there was these incredible web apps for schools, but there was this big problem where the teachers couldn't really purchase them for the students and they couldn't distribute them easily. Signing up was a pain, purchase orders were a pain, so we streamlined that whole process. We were like 10 years too early. If we were around during COVID, I'd be a billionaire right now. But thank God we bootstrapped the hell out of that. Our first funding was from 500 Global, and then we raised a Series A, and we ended up selling to a company down in Alabama who had a couple of state contracts. So we were able to deploy it to everyone. So, it was kind of wild to do the whole startup journey, start to finish, bootstrapped, funding, acquisition, all,
At what age?
In one
This is
shot.
at what age?
I started it when I was 21, and we sold it when I was 26.
How many partners did you have? Were they developer? You weren't a developer. You were the CEO.
I wasn't.
of the company.
I wasn't a developer. I wasn't even the CEO. I was COO. My co-founder Michael was the CEO.
Okay.
I always, it's funny. I always took the second seat. I always was afraid to be the guy in front.
Why?
I don't know. Now I'm the guy in front.
Oh.
But yeah.
All right.
Second startup was an app for parents to keep their kids safe on social media. That was called Visr.
It's a good name.
Yeah, VISR. It was nice. I did it with a guy, Robert Reichman, if you know who he is.
No.
Great guy, super smart. Also, just like met him, hit it off. I had this idea, rummaging the back of my head, and he's like, "I love it. Let's do it." We ended up building that, getting funding, and we sold that as well. I was less involved in that one, more like advisory role. But it was like my idea, and to like see it like built and all the way through, that was amazing.
You had shares in the company, or you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so we sold it to a company in England. The name of that company is Safe2Net. I think they're going to go public soon. hopefully. I don't know. I've been holding on to that
Oh, you
stock
still have
for a
shares
while.
in the company?
Yeah, it was a stock purchase.
Okay,
So we
smart.
have that. And then the third one was called Wavecar. And Wavecar was the world's first all-electric and free car-sharing program. So we had a fleet of, at one point, 250 electric cars that you could rent for free in Los Angeles, all sponsored by ads. So we had a vinyl wrap on the vehicles, and we had a digital billboard on the roof. And that one was kind of crazy. We were on Shark Tank. We did a deal with Mr. Wonderful. We raised a great round of funding. We did a deal with Hyundai, which was incredible.
Wow. As an advertiser, or you guys had them as a partner or something?
It was such an interesting deal. We did it as advertising in exchange for cars. So they gave us 150 vehicles for free in exchange for advertising on their own vehicles.
But they had electric cars? Hyundai has...
It was their first electric car called the Ioniq, and they wanted to debut it. And what ended up happening was we had a waiting list of people trying to try the vehicle, and it was essentially a test drive program on steroids. So every time someone got out of the vehicle, we gave them a survey, and like they had like an NPS score and stuff like that they want to get. It usually costs car dealerships, I think it's like, the number at the time was like $2,500 in ad spend to get one person to take a test drive. Yeah. We had a waiting list of 2,500 people to drive one car. So it just changed the game. So that was incredible. Unfortunately, COVID just like decimated that company in between funding rounds. But thank God we were able to sell it.
Dude, you're 3 for 3, man.
I mean, yeah.
You're literally 3 for... Yeah, that's crazy.
God has been good, and that's how I ended up here in Miami. We sold it to a company called Reef Technology.
Yeah, they're still around, Reef, right?
Yeah, it's still around, Reef, and that was pretty incredible. And then I got into short form media about a year and a half ago.
Why? Because like
you're interviewing me, by the way.
I know, but I'm just curious. Listen, I'm a curious guy.
We'll get there.
Why, if you are 3 for 3 in building startups, right? You first, I guess you entered the startup game when you were 21 years old. You're not an old guy now. You're
35.
You're 35. This is 14 years, 15 years of doing this, right? Not many people can say that they've built and sold 3 startups in 15 years. Why do you not go down that route? Because I'm somebody that was extremely I've been fascinated by, the whole tech. I'm from California, right? And a lot of, San Francisco and that whole Silicon Valley vibes that was constantly around me. Those were the biggest billionaires in my state, right? So why do you decide to leave that world and do what you're doing now?
It's a great question. And, I always had this sort of idea in my head that in order to like really make it, you got to do this startup path where you grind and you bootstrap and you raise money and you pay yourself nothing and you're eating ramen noodles for 3 years. And like, and you know what, like, I got to tell you, my first startup, like in this clip I was telling you about, like to go into a little more detail.
Yeah.
I had no money. I worked in IT 2 days a week to like pay the bills. I had just had a baby. Like I was just newly married. I had to pay rent.
Yeah.
And I was making nothing. So I worked for 2 days a week in the city doing IT. That was enough to just get by.
Yeah.
And then the other 3 days I was hustling on the startup.
How many years? How long were you doing that for? Like basically
2
getting
years.
By. 2 years of just getting
2 years.
By. Okay.
But like it was tight, man. Like I remember going to the grocery store and just being like, can I afford this box of cereal? Like it was tight.
And was the payout worth it though? After 2 years of stuff, because that's what they say, right? The whole idea is you read every single book, right? We're hatching Twitter, like all this shit, right? And they're so obsessed with, they create a sense of, I guess a sense of, they make it seem heroic to suffer for the beginning to then, it's still alive, right? Okay. So they make it seem heroic to suffer in the beginning, to only then get a payout, a large chunk, right, after the company is sold.
Yeah.
Even when you raise the capital, by the way, for anybody out there watching this, when you raise the capital, you are not rich.
No.
The company is worth $100 million, you are still broke.
I remember having, when we raised a Wavecar, we had a couple $1 million in the bank, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. This is too much money in a bank account.
It wasn't in your account.
It wasn't, of course not in my account.
Yeah.
Because you got to make that last. You got to turn that 3 into 30. That's your job as an entrepreneur. And so, I went down this path and I struggled and I did it a few times. And in this business, it's very different. I mean, you're profitable on month 1. It's a total different game.
As long as you're smart and you understand numbers.
Yeah. So as much as I love the game, I love building. I can totally see myself doing another startup in the future. Just like this business is like, come up with a great service that people really enjoy, that I really enjoy, and I can charge good money for it, build systems around it. I still think that I can scale this and sell it. And I've seen other people that have done it.
You're talking about the media company?
The media company. I don't think it's much different. I just think that on this one, I have no co-founders, I have no investors. So when I do sell it, it's going to look very different.
Yeah, but then the thing about that as well is that it's not a service, right? Let's backtrack. It's not a software where, just put good developers on it. It's a service. So in that case, you need to have a creative mind who is, well, not only running the business, but able to manage the editors, able to acquire the customers. And obviously you could scale it to the point where you have salesmen and you could have, different creative directors. But the idea is, in order for you to go ahead and sell it, you're going to have to create systems that are so perfect and then hire a CEO that's, just as good as you, if not better than you. And then that's when you could sell. So it's different than a software where it's just like, all right, let's just run a bunch of freaking Google ads, try to sell people this, new AI tool that gives them an AI girlfriend. And then, try to find as many, weird guys that would want to pay for that. And then, sell it eventually after a year of showing revenue. But, do you, when you think about your company now, do you have a clear direction how to get to the point of I'm going to sell this thing? Or is it kind of like, I'm just going to take this day by day. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun.
Taking it day by day.
Yeah.
If the offer comes along that's right one day, fantastic. But I will say you're so on the money with systems.
Yeah.
I mean, the first 6 months of my company was just spent in Zapier, Airtable, ChatGPT. Just you should see what my back end looks like.
You showed me. We had that breakfast. You showed me your Airtable. Yeah.
Right. So my whole I'm unorganized. I can't keep track of anything. And so when I started this agency, I said to myself, if you don't have a good system, you are going to fail. And so I built this content organization system. I keep track of every piece of content from raw to final asset to posted asset, all in one Airtable. And it's like basically all automated. I trained my team on how to do it. And so now as you're talking about like, how can you sell it eventually? When it comes to agencies, when it comes to services, it's really simple. I learned this from one of these groups that I'm in, that like a mentorship group for agencies. And it was a swim lane exercise. And essentially he said, map out your entire customer journey from beginning to end.
Is that what what is a swim lane? What is that?
They call it swim lanes. And so I'll tell you. So map it out. So it's like customer inquiry, it's customer signs contract, customer onboarding, call the customer, like every single like minute detail. And then the swim lanes, there's one lane on top that's Zoli, that's me.
Okay.
Right? Then there's another lane that's like automations. Then there's another lane that's customer service representative. Then there's one that's editor. Then there's one that's creative account manager. And all my job is to move move the boxes down. This is something that I used to do all the time. I need to write up an SOP, a statement of procedures, train people how to do it, write the documentation, and then boom, I can move that to my creative director, right?
Interesting. So you're saying as we speak right now, your company is running. You don't have to be making decisions. You've already achieved that level of...
I'm still making decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I still talk to my team.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point where in the beginning of my agency, I edited every single video myself. I posted every video myself. Now I'm at the point where I don't do pretty much any editing at this point, unless there's like something immediate needed.
Yeah.
I don't post videos because my automation system does it and my team manages it. Even client communications I've offboarded. So like the regular communications with the client, I hired someone who's amazing.
No
who's
way.
Doing that.
An American? American?
Yeah. Well, she's Canadian. She's great.
Oh, she's those Canadians.
Yeah, Maggie's
I'm
awesome.
kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding.
But
shout out Maggie, whoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's I mean, what's so interesting is like you have all these people. I understand the world you're in. I understand all the worlds that you hung out in to a certain degree. Listen, I'm not like this freaking veteran. I'm 23 years old, but I could speak the lingo, and I think that one of the most interesting things is I've heard that in order for anybody to achieve success in a tech startup, what they have to do, or any sort of streamlined process that uses a website or an app, you have to first be in that industry heavily. And then once you understand every single problem within that industry, you're then able to create solutions for that industry. So it's like your next product could, you have all these people right now with AI who are literally creating, I'm not going to use any names now, but like, we'll edit your videos for you. Like, you just put a prompt in and it'll create a whole short form. It's like, have you ever made a short form video? Have you ever made it?
Suck.
Yeah. So like the whole idea is the more that you understand, I guess you could say just some sort of niche, the better you could solve the problems in that niche. And I think that, I'm at the point right now in my life where I just want to be helpful. I literally am offering here and there deals, to people, selling them. We talked about my company Visible. I'm selling them, services at barely any profit, just because I want to help people right now, to just prove that I know, to myself and to other people, of course. And I think that the more that I find problems, the more that I'm going to be able to do as you're currently doing, to create systems and allocate different pieces of the process to other people. And I listen, it's admirable what you've done, and that's why I wanted to start this segment with it. I think it's
appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
But let's get to you a little bit,
yeah.
huh? Enough
happy.
about me. I know you want to help, and I love you for it, and that's why we're hanging out. But let's get to you.
All right.
All right. So I discovered you I don't know, probably years ago. Probably in the crypto scene.
Makes sense.
I see this account is like this little purple thing. It's just like a cool little drawing with the guy with the backwards cap.
Yeah.
Kingzletter. And he was just putting out great content, right? You were reporting on crypto and stuff like that. So I've been following you. And then I don't know when it clicked that I'm like, oh, wait, we're like from the same world. Like we live near each other.
Yeah.
And then we reached out. But why don't you tell me about like the origins of Kingzletter?
Yeah. So it's so funny. I guess this goes, I don't even know how far back I can go into this, but the idea is that it's COVID. And I'm actually in Israel at the time. And when I'm in Israel, the whole world shuts down, and I've got to come back, right? I'm thinking in my head, I'll be able to go back in a little bit. This won't last more than, it won't last more than 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That
That's
was
what
my
they said.
positive
2 week lockdown.
Listen, I'm a relentless optimist, so obviously I thought it would be 2 weeks, all right? Turns out it was not 2 weeks. So now I've got a lot of spare time on my hands, right? And I obviously I'm learning Torah on the side, and then I'm sitting with a friend of mine who's an incredible entrepreneur, and he tells me about something called NBA Top Shot. So obviously, when somebody tells you about something, for those of you who don't know what NBA Top Shot is, Top Shot was it's still around, of course, but essentially the NBA gave the rights to this company called Dapper Labs to basically sell little snippets, little highlights as NFTs. So instead of opening a pack of cards, you would open up a virtual pack. And then this virtual pack would essentially come with highlights, like perhaps, a video of Giannis dunking over a guy, for about 5 seconds, whatever it is. And they would sell that as an NFT. And
he got the rights from the
NBA. They had licensing rights, I believe.
Okay,
I don't know. There was a whole situation. I don't know what the whole situation was, but they have that right. They have those rights still today, I believe. Right?
Wow.
They have it with UFC, by the way, just NFL, all that good jazz. Yeah. So I heard about this, and I am a former huge NBA fan. I played basketball growing up, and I'm also somebody who's addicted to the internet, and I understood the value proposition immediately. Like, why would I want to own a moment versus owning a picture? Because videos are just so much more awesome, right? That's just the truth.
Of course.
Nobody looks at photos anymore these days. Why? Because photos suck. I don't care about you, who came, hung out with your mother. I'm kidding. Listen, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but it's just not
There's a place for it, but it ain't going to go
It's not
viral.
as enticing as a video with you and your mother.
Correct.
Right? So, yeah. Okay, so the idea was I went home that night, and I literally became addicted. I was on this app, or website rather, there was no app then, and I'm just buying moments left and right. Like, what the hell? Like, I just loaded up my card, and I just was buying highlights. Those highlights...
You blow your savings on this?
No, I would say it was about... It wasn't my savings, but
okay.
it was a sizable amount for a guy that's 18 years old.
Right.
Right? So that's what I would say. And I no thought, just almost felt like divine intervention. Like, this is what you're doing. I had literally no will of my own. I just did it. I literally, wake up the next morning and it already doubled in value. All of those highlights that I bought.
Wow.
So I say to myself, holy shit, this is something that's interesting and nobody's talking about this. The concept is brilliant. The market the market is there. People are buying this, right? There's an audience for this. I've got to talk about this. Nobody was talking about this at the time, right? Logan Paul got on the wave. Then, Gary Vee got on the wave at that, a few months after.
V-Friends.
Yeah, he did, but nobody was talking about this at this time. So TikTok was coming up, and I had experience running pages because I was running Instagram pages when I was 15, 14 years old. And I just loved media, right? I understood it. I understood how to create an engaging piece of content. But TikTok was a whole new world, right? We're talking about 9:16 videos that have to be engaging on a whole new level, especially, during the early days. You really had to pique their interest. But NBA Top Shot is so strange that it stops somebody in their track, right? If somebody's scrolling and they see some guy talking about a highlight on the internet selling for, 30 grand, their automatic response is, what the hell is this guy talking about? And the moment that you have somebody say, what the hell is this guy talking about? You've won.
That's the
hook. The algorithm loves that.
Of course.
So, and then another thing the algorithm loves is when people are in the comments. And I was getting grilled. Everyone was making fun of me.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I said, give it to me, baby. 600,000 views, 300,000 immediately, right?
It's so funny. It's so funny you say that because I tell my clients all the time. And for me, some of my most viral videos are just people arguing in the comments or yelling at.
Absolutely.
You want that.
Absolutely.
People turn off your comments. Stop doing that. Who cares? Just don't read it. Yeah. Don't let it get to you, because if you do, it'll mess with your head. Just rule number 1 with content, don't read the comments. Anyways.
It is the media. Comments have become the media, by the way.
100%.
Meaning, every single time you come across a video that piques your interest, your number 1 muscle reaction is to check the comments. Yeah. And you can't ignore that fact. That is everyone and their mother, that's what they do.
Yeah, just one quick thing on comments. I was watching a video, I think The Verge did, on, the account Unnecessary Inventions?
Absolutely. I believe it's who does the 3D printing?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he was talking about how sometimes he will leave mistakes in his videos specifically for the comments.
Yeah.
And so he spoke about this video he did, which was a Tic Tac organizer. So your Tic Tacs don't shake in the box. And so he's and in the Tic Tac organizer, you get 8 on each side, which comes to 14 Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
And his comments, he said he had something like 30,000 comments saying, your math is wrong, you're a moron. But that's how he went viral. And he's I do it specifically for that because people want to be right and they can't help themselves. They want to be I caught your mistake. That's why people leave weird things in the background, or they put something weird out in their video. It's a tactic that people actually do now.
There was a video that I made on the 4th of July, encouraging people to stop hating on America. And, and the video went absolutely viral. And what I did in the video is I said all of the amazing things that America has brought to the world, the inventions, right? And I believe I said, I don't even remember the exact thing I said, but I mentioned the airplane, right? That America invented the airplane. And I think there were 2 other things as well that I mentioned. And I guess there's some sort of controversy around who invented the airplane or these things that I mentioned. And I had all of these people in the comments absolutely grilling me, and the video got millions of views. It went ballistically viral. And, I was involved at a certain point recently with a social app. So I understand how the algorithm, the favoring systems of the algorithm, right? There's a point system. It's all based off merits. So if somebody shares the video, that creates a certain sense of merit systems. It's all points, right? If somebody comments. And the idea is that, retention, shares, likes, comments, all of them have a certain level of strength.
Right.
That's a better word to say it.
But TikTok changed that whole game, right?
Absolutely. They've come up with their own formula.
But I'm saying that in terms of I feel like you're probably in a better position to explain this as me because I wasn't really in media at the time. I loved TikTok and I was going viral during COVID too.
Yeah.
But TikTok was the first app to change the social model completely, switch it on the head. So go into that. Most people know this, but I feel like you're...
No, absolutely. What TikTok really did was retention. What they did is they were the first people to make it, okay, you could stumble across a video. One of the biggest things that will contribute to the virality of this thing will be a retention.
Right, how
long is somebody watching this video? It doesn't matter if it's cinematic. It doesn't matter how high quality it is. Remember that guy who went viral a couple of years ago and he was picked up a phone and he was dancing in front of the mirror? That whatever it was. Dog face also.
Yeah.
They're ugly videos, but everyone was watching them and rewatching them, and that picked up on the signal of TikTok with a bunch of other things. But where I was getting at previously was the fact that comments is a massive, massive contributor to Instagram's algorithm. Specifically, I can't say the same for necessarily TikTok. I know that obviously it's huge on TikTok as well, but I know that if not the highest level of strength out of all of the things on it is comments for Instagram. And
you think that's still the case?
I believe so. I can
Not
show
shares?
you. You go ahead, look at your video,
Okay.
and you tell me how many views the videos with the most comments got versus, and it has to be real comments, not bots. I have a video right now that has 400 plus shares. It's not going viral.
Really?
Yeah, I could show it to you, man. I could show it to the camera if you'd like.
400 shares.
400 shares, not going viral. Not yet. It will go viral soon. I'm a very, as I said, relentless optimistic, but like optimism. But that's what I've noticed.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see. 6.3 million views because my wife's in it. Everything,
Flex.
anything I put my wife in, it goes viral. Oh, 926. Nah, sorry. I think 926 comments, 156,000 shares.
Okay. Well, obviously, if you have 156,000 shares, it was probably a video that was, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably a relatable video that had to do with like husband and wife.
Yeah.
Okay,
I show the car and I'm just like,
all right, get
I'm
the
just
hell
like,
out of
I love
here.
your car. What do you do for a living? And she just goes, I married well.
How old is this video too?
This was a year ago.
Okay, so that's another thing.
Okay, fine. They change constantly.
But I mean, shares is obviously, the thing about shares is that when it gets shared to a group chat,
Yeah.
Sometimes that group chat has 5 people, maybe even more, 15, 20. That's obviously going to be one of the organic growth, not algorithm. That's organic growth, and that goes beyond even algorithm.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
What I've noticed is that comments is what has become one of the biggest indications of the algorithm should pick this up and boost it. There's arguments taking place. There's people are coming back. Instagram likes that a lot.
Yeah.
It's actually become a meme. Like, check the Instagram comments has become a meme because of how insane the comment section on Instagram videos are, and they're leaning into that heavily.
Right. And so you understood this at your back to the NBA
Oh,
stuff.
whoa, yes. That's
We're like
a tangent.
way on a tangent.
That's a tangent. Okay,
That's a Rashi Tosfos.
yeah, it is. I understood social media very early on, and I decided. Thank you for bringing it back. Wow. I decided to go out of my comfort zone and start making videos and learning about this new system, but I was a little bit scared to get in front of the camera. There's nothing more intimidating than getting in front of the camera. I mean, I had tried to start I started a podcast when I was younger on YouTube called The Mind of a Determined. I remember that. And the whole idea was I would interview people who were just, very determined and achieved a lot of success. I actually got a politician on, many people who managed a lot of money, billions of dollars. It was actually very interesting. But it never went anywhere because I was, who knows what I was, right? I just was, I guess. And then the idea was...
Because you didn't continue, that's why.
I didn't continue, right? And the idea is that I knew that I could do it. And the videos started doing extremely well. And my Instagram page was called NBA Top Shot News, but I was attached to NBA Top Shot, and I didn't like that. So at that time, I had 15,000 followers on this page called NBA Top Shot News, or 20,000, 25,000 across all my socials. And I decided, you know what, I've got to make an entirely new page that's just dedicated to talking about the blockchain. And I started a fresh page, 0 followers. I didn't rebrand that page.
Really?
I went to 0.
Wow.
And I called it NFT Kings.
What year was this?
This was probably 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can't even tell you how quickly that page grew. That page probably grew to 100,000 followers in less than 6 months.
Wow. How often were you posting?
Oh my God, like a robot, like a machine, 2, 3 times a day.
And this was before ChatGPT, before any
Oh,
AI
absolutely.
tools.
Yeah, this was
This was before like Canva.
Yeah, this was before some of the most popular cryptocurrencies people know, like Solana. Like, people didn't know about Solana when I was doing this, right? Like, it was. I mean, I knew about Solana, but like, people didn't know about it so much. So the idea, I think Solana just came out then, actually. Now that I think about it. So.
But I'm saying in terms of the content production piece, like.
Oh yeah, it was me talking to the camera.
Oh,
Listen,
so you started talking to the camera.
I was talking to the camera. I'm sorry for not saying that. I started with NBA Top Shot. I already started talking to the camera, but this I was talking to the camera
from day one.
Yeah, it was not good quality content, right? What it was more so was I found there's 2 styles of content. There's high quality, incredible editing, and super cinematic. Then there is authentic, and oftentimes, the most authentic content is handheld content, not even using a microphone, talking to the camera, showing enough personality that the person just wants to watch. And that's what I did then. I only did authentic holding the phone, edited on the TikTok app content.
Wow.
And I had, that, thank God, did very well. And I became, I hate, it's a weird word, but famous in the world of NFTs and crypto, to the point where, at that time I had people offering me millions of dollars in not necessarily in cash up front, but in opportunities to join their NFT projects, to just shell their NFTs.
Wow.
And I didn't do it.
Really?
Right? I didn't do any. I did not join or sell any NFT project. All of my money during that time was made with my investments in crypto and in NFTs.
Wow. Is there any NFT or crypto project that reached out to you that you regret saying no to?
There was one. There was something called NFT Worlds. And NFT Worlds, I mean, in the end, it ended up being bad for them. But NFT Worlds reached out to me. They said they wanted me to get involved with their project. They were selling a bunch of Minecraft, sized worlds in a metaverse that they were building, which was going to be Minecraft style. And when I tell you, this became the #1 NFT a couple of weeks or months after they launched, where every single plot of land was selling for I don't even know, maybe, over $100,000 at a certain, maybe less.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a crazy,
what a crazy time, bro.
And I realized after, I was like, holy I dropped the ball. But then whatever, Minecraft or somebody ended up not allowing them to exist anymore for some reason.
So it's worth zero now.
Now it doesn't even exist. But it doesn't even exist. They got
it sold a digital plot of land for $100,000, and now it literally poof.
There's
nothing.
I think it was worth 80 Ethereum at the time when Ethereum was 5, so maybe 40K or something like that.
Wow.
45 grand. But yeah, it was so that happens, right? And then, I get married. I got married at 20 years old. So I'm married at 20, and
what'd you tell your wife you do for a living?
She doesn't even know still. She has no idea.
It's like that meme. It's like that meme on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's like, what did my husband do?
She's like, call him. I'll give him your number.
Something social media.
Yeah, something with his phone.
Whatever. The bills are paid. That's basically the wives. Yeah.
So but yeah, it's spot on. So I essentially, I'm married now, and then my first, I want to say 4 months of being married, the crash of 2022 2022, I believe, in the crypto market happens.
Right after Bitcoin was at like 60K or something.
Yeah, and this was when that guy, what's his name? Not Doquan, the guy who was behind Luna. That was the first thing to fall. Then FTX fell, and then everything came crashing with it, right? And then there was many other, Celsius, I believe, or whatever it was. And
we're here in Miami. We saw the FTX sign being pried off,
shamelessly taken off. Yeah. So that happened, and I'm like, holy shit, I've got to pivot now, or I'm just gonna sit in bed all day and wondering what the F to do. So I had 167,000 followers, or 172,000 followers on Instagram, and I don't even remember how much on TikTok. And I decided, screw it, I'm gonna go all in talking about technology. And I remember there were some conversations about AI. So I said, you know what? Let me do some research into this whole AI thing. Let's see what happens when I look into this. And I became obsessed, right? I realized, ChatGPT 3 came out, and it was just absolutely astonishing. Fastest growing product in the whole world, right, in history. And I covered that. And oh my gosh, the viewership was crazier than ever before. Thank God. And that led me to the path of eventually talking about technology. I kept talking about blockchain. I had sponsors that were blockchain, so I had to.
Right.
But I'm still interested in blockchain. I love blockchain.
Right.
But, the idea was I knew I had to make that shift during that time where I couldn't just talk about blockchain. And it went out well for me, thank God. And then,
So how are you monetizing at this point?
So this is weird, right? So at that time, there were a bunch of other startups that were being built off of ChatGPT that were gaining incredible amounts of funding. So I had some great companies, by the way, brilliant companies from awesome. The best part about the AI space versus being in the blockchain space is that the founders were legit.
Right.
We weren't dealing with people that were like, dude, you're shady as fuck. I'm not even gonna answer your DM. Like they have plug emojis in their bio.
Right.
Like you're just like, dude, I can't answer you. But whatever. So the idea is that I was a lot more comfortable doing sponsorships with AI companies. So they were paying me a lot, right? Thank God to make sponsorships because it was hot, it was exciting. But then eventually I realized that every time I ran an ad, it would harm my page.
Really?
Yeah.
An ad or a sponsored post?
A sponsored post, I'm sorry.
So
a
you would
sponsored
boost?
post. I wouldn't boost. I'm talking more so about, company comes to me after a while,
okay.
right? Company comes to me, hey, promote our video editing platform, right? And then I've got to, talk about this company with absolute levels of enthusiasm, and incredible excitement. And after doing that enough times, it starts to become like, oh my gosh, like sometimes a company comes to me and, the deal is good, the company looks good, but I don't want to tell my audience every other week to buy something.
Right.
And
You don't want to become the Billy Mays of software.
yeah, I'm not a NASCAR, I'm not a race car.
Right.
You can't just smack a bunch of advertisements on me,
Yeah.
So
you lose your credibility.
Yeah, it was tough. And I don't even own these companies, right? This is just one-off. Take this, say this, buy. And that became, tough. And in addition to that, it's hard. It starts to become harder to get sales. I was like one of the first AI influencers. Next thing you know, there's every single 6 hours, there's another one spawning up.
Right.
And I wasn't as, sought out. And
I was an AI influencer for a second.
yeah, everyone
I did.
was.
When ChatGPT came out, I put out 3 videos. Each of them hit 1 million views plus. Happens to be the video I did about ChatGPT launched my media agency.
Wow.
I'll give you the story. So the second ChatGPT came out, I'm obviously like obsessed, like us being tech guys.
Yeah.
And I do this very basic video, like you said, in the TikTok app, selfie camera, terrible quality.
Yeah.
Like it probably took me 10 minutes to make this video. Right? I've spent hours on other videos that completely flopped. This video took 10 minutes, got 1.2 million views, I think. And it was very simple. It was like, here's why ChatGPT is cool. I'm like, make me, prepare like a healthy menu so like I can lose weight and for like a family of 2. And then I'm like, make a grocery list. And I basically showed the power of like what ChatGPT can do, and it's not just a basic chatbot. Fine. Put this out, gets 1.2 million views. I get a tag on LinkedIn from a friend of mine. Some guy, his name is Ira Zlotowicz. He was the founder of Eastern Union Funding, and he had some real estate tech company. He posted it to his LinkedIn. This guy has tons of LinkedIn followers. Didn't know me. I didn't know him. We were in like similar circles, but we never knew each other. Post this video. I get tagged in the comments. I message him. I'm like, hey, do you mind adding a tag? Blah, blah, blah. Fine. We jump on a call. We start chatting. P.S. He goes, I think you should do this. I'm like, you mean like social media? He's like, yeah, you're really good at it. You want to do mine? And I'm like, well, I've been thinking about it. People have told me to do it. He's like, I like helping people get started. He's like, I'll pay you. I'll take a chance on you. And I'm like,
Holy shit.
Yeah. And this was after I sold my startup. I was still working for this company. So I'm like, let me try this as a little side hustle, right? And I started working for him, and thank God it went well. And then, I started talking to a few friends, and I got my second client. And like very quickly, the side hustle was paying more than the main job. And so I'm like, all right, guys, peace out.
Yeah.
Very scary to make the jump, as we discussed.
Yeah, it is.
But that TikTok launched this career because this organic piece of content, some random dude found, posted it on his LinkedIn, liked what he saw, hired me, and I'm like, oh my God, people would pay me for this?
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
It's barely the moment that you think that you have a lot of control. I'm going to make this so good. I'm going to make it viral. That's when it doesn't go viral.
Totally.
It's when it's real. It's when it's fun. Yeah, that's cool. Wow,
100%.
that's a great. Do you still? Is he still one of your clients, Ira?
No, we did a couple of months, and then I actually like trained his team to help them develop the content and the systems, which I find is like sort of a pattern. So I'll probably pivot into that, just like helping companies develop this ability internally. It's not as good without me, but whatever. It's besides the point. But I still super appreciate what he did for me. But anyways, I was an AI influencer because of those videos, and and these random companies that were also sketch kept reaching out, and like I also was like, nah.
Listen, everyone was an AI influencer. We can point at the biggest YouTubers who talk. Yeah. They all at one point mentioned AI, and
of course,
because it was just one of the most exciting topics in the whole world.
Still is.
Now, yeah, right now the elections. Everyone wants to talk about the damn elections all day. I can't stand that shit. But the whole idea is that whatever is the most exciting subject on the planet creators have to start talking about it, and they have to figure out a way to do that, right? And this was the biggest challenge. I kept on attacking these hyper niches without allowing myself to be like, okay, one page, wherever the hell the world goes, I'm there with them.
Right.
And I think that, that's when I decided to switch to the Kingzletter.
Got it.
And the reason why I mentioned that I got, a little bit like, I don't know if I want to start taking sponsorships is because, or at least do it so often. I'm sorry, let me clarify that. And I want to be more selective with the sponsorships. And I started a newsletter instead is because I realized I became inspired by companies like Morning Brew. And,
Alex
the hustle.
Lieberman.
Yeah, Alex, all these guys who built $100 million, $50 million, $100 million businesses by writing emails. And the idea is that you can make an email, a NASCAR, with ads all over the place. Nobody cares. Their brain knows how to ignore that and not think, oh, this guy's an asshole. They're reading words.
Right. They're used to it. That's what newspapers are. It's like since the dawn of time, advertisement has been in the paper.
It's expected.
Right.
And that's where I thought I was going to go. But the problem was, I'm a journalist, I'm a reporter, but all in the form of video. I am not this journalist who does it in the form of writing, who conveys his stories in the form of writing. And I was playing the role who I was not. And you can't put on a mask and, take on a new face.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's where I am today. And I still have the name of the Kingzletter, but it's got to change at a certain point. And yeah.
So are you still doing the newsletter, or?
I have not sent out a newsletter in a couple of months.
How big is your subscriber list?
I spent a lot of money and dedicated 2 years and a lot of sweat. And I think it's like 4,000, 3,000, subscribers.
Alex Lieberman by the list.
I mean, it's not, that's the craziest part. It's a good list. Some of the people that I've subscribed are incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say names, but there are people who are like 15 million subscribers on YouTube who are subscribed to the newsletter. People on very high up at Meta's team.
Well,
but yeah, whatever. But the idea is that I can't play somebody who I'm not. It's not. I need to be excited every day at work.
You want to be true to yourself.
Yeah, I want to be true to myself.
That probably took a lot of courage to have that realization, and you just woke up one morning. You're just, hey, I'm not. I don't love writing. What was it?
I do love writing because I write all of my scripts and I write for the ads that I do for other companies, right, with Visible. And I like writing, but when it's for a video.
Right.
I don't like spending my nights, up until 12 a.m., like aiming to get this newsletter out, and having to, find a new subject every single day and like, and I didn't like that.
Right.
And
it was daily?
It was twice a week.
Twice a week.
And I eventually outsourced it. And I hired a writer. I tried to hire somebody to help me sell the ad spots. I did. I didn't try. I did hire somebody, and it became my largest expense. And there's this like thing that I was watching Shark Tank many years ago, and I heard Kevin O'Leary tell somebody, "You've got to take this business. You know that line. Take the horse to the back of the barn and shoot it in the head. Shoot it in the head. The horse." I kept having that in my head. Like, at what point am I going to realize that I have to shoot this thing in the head?
Yeah.
And after 2 years of it not being a success and me losing money, that's when I realized I had to shoot it in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think at some point you can maybe do an AI revival? Probably.
Meaning the subject of AI, or revive the newsletter through AI, using AI?
Yeah. Revive the newsletter using AI and system. I think like we're not too far where you can like train it with all your previous data and like the news cycle of the time and like have it where it gets it to like a 90% point. I don't think we're there just yet, but
it's still, it's a great point. And I don't think that I killed the newsletter entirely. Shooting it in the head was probably a little bit too aggressive. I do that sometimes. But the idea,
just put it in a cage.
Yeah. That's a better. Yeah. Give it a little bit of water.
Yeah.
Don't get it too fat.
Don't shoot it in the head.
Yeah, but don't shoot it in the head. Yeah,
okay.
That's maybe one day in the near future there will be a revival, but it won't be as aggressive. Maybe once a week.
Okay, got it. So you're doing this newsletter. Now you're all tech. You're all video.
Yeah.
And you're killing it. You're growing every day.
Yeah.
And tell me then you launched Visible.
Yeah.
So tell me how that happened, how you got to that point. I know we were meeting when you were thinking about this.
Yeah.
Would love to hear that.
So Visible, first of all, I realized that one of my strongest skill sets is the ability to create videos and convey seemingly complicated things and make them very simple.
Yeah.
And I realized that products, whether it be software or hardware, they all need that when they're being advertised. That's the bread and butter of a good advertisement.
100%.
Is how do I take this CRM system, how do I take this, and then make it so simple that the average Joe who's scrolling recognizes this and is like, I actually do need that, right? So once I realized, okay, this is what I'm actually good at. Similar to you, I've had so many times people come to me and ask them to do things for them. And in addition to that, I realized as well that whenever a company would come to me, oftentimes what they would come to me for wasn't necessarily to promote it to my audience, but was more so just purely for the creative, and then they would pay me for the rights to then amplify that and put paid media behind it.
Right.
So I said, okay, why sacrifice my page? Just offer that as a service, making short form ads for people. Because at the end of the day, ask any entrepreneur that you know, 9 times out of 10, the place where they spend most of their marketing budget is through meta platforms. And short form content is the #1 means of consumption right now on meta platforms.
Every platform.
Every platform, right? So, I'm going to make a business that helps companies make great short form ads. That was the simple realization I had. And, Visible, the idea behind the name Visible is I kept on dropping the ball on my names. The Kingzletter, NFT Kings, I said, fuck that, I'm not fucking this name up. I'm not fucking this name up. And I said, what is it about this company that would get people to just see one word that would make them realize, oh, I might trust these guys? You want to make your product visible.
Yeah.
Your product feels invisible. You want to make it visible. That's how the name Visible came up with.
Amazing.
So, yeah, that's the idea behind Visible.
And so you launched Visible how long ago?
I launched Visible probably 2 months ago, internally 3 months ago. But officially, the world knew about Visible probably about 3 weeks ago or so.
Wow. Yeah, I saw the launch videos. Very excited about that.
Yeah.
You had a lot of powerhouses in the comments too, right?
That's all God. There's nothing I can say that I did to do that. That's purely, as you said with Ira, that just happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can talk about this stuff, but I know you did some content sort of beforehand, before you had Visible. Do you want to talk about some of those opportunities that you had for some major companies? I don't know if you can.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I worked with some awesome brands, and I worked with Intel for a long time. And when I worked with Intel, it was over a year. I realized how few people in these massive institutions understand how to make a good video on social media. Oh my God. And it's at the back of they put it how figuratively, you have a house and then you have a shed and then you have the top of the shed where nobody can get. That's where they put that. That's where they put short form content in their company.
Yeah.
It's inaccessible. They don't care about it. And it's stupid. So
it's so funny you say that because, we as guys who literally live in the short form world, it's all we do. It's all we think about. We know that you can make a video and get 10 million people to see it for free. It's an insane tool that has never existed before.
Absolutely.
And these companies are just shit in the bed on it.
Yeah.
They don't think, they're still putting out content like it's 2012 Instagram era. They think they can make a fancy graphic and the carousel and people are going to be happy.
No.
It's, and we have, I'm sure you have this too, but just am I really that good? Don't people know this stuff?
Yeah.
Can't they figure out? And then when you get to these big companies that seemingly you think have it all figured out.
Absolutely.
You know what the big secret is in life? Nobody has any fucking clue what they're doing.
Nobody.
And especially at these big companies, because all they care about is covering their ass and making sure that they make their bonus and then they get the raise.
Yeah.
They don't actually give a shit
Nobody
about
cares.
And so what I found is these smaller agency guys like me and you, we're just obsessed with it. The product is infinitely better because when you trust an internal team to do it, their incentives are not lined up. But for me, if I don't have a video get 100,000 views for a client within 60 days, I failed. The person working at that company didn't.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny that you say that. But yeah, nobody has a fucking clue.
nailed it, right? So I mean, that's what there were so many companies that I spoke with who had this issue. And the craziest thing about this is that when I speak with these massive businesses, I've spoken with a lot of really, really talented creators who are literally getting billions of views. And the idea is that it's just understanding how to create an engaging piece of content and how to story tell. And these companies are not leaning into that at all. They're still thinking that it's not really storytelling, more so about leaning into trends. And it's not about leaning into trends at all.
No.
You've got to make it that, okay, so if somebody has a business and they're hopping on the trends of, let's dial it back for 1 second. Let me talk about a trend that just recently came out. There was that video of those girls in a circle. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, I don't even know what that Gen Z boss and an attitude.
Oh yeah,
that whole trend, right? And
crop top and pair of Mary Janes. That's so stupid.
Yeah, highly engaging.
Yeah,
went ballistically. It went viral.
Yeah,
but when you look at their Google Trends of that, because that was a company video.
Oh, it was.
It was. You don't even know that. How sad. How sad.
I have no idea.
Exactly. Nobody does.
My wife tells me about trends. I don't even know.
Exactly. Right. So it was a company video for a cosmetics brand.
Really? Do you know the brand?
No, I don't even remember. That's how ineffective that viral video was.
Wow.
It didn't add to their top line. It didn't do anything for them.
Right.
It's insanity, But on the other hand, what did go well for a company when they leaned into something viral was Stanley. When that cup situation happened, and the CEO reacted, "We're going to send you a new car." There's a story.
Of course, it's storytelling.
It's learning how to create engagement, not just virality.
That wasn't a trend. That was a story. That's humanity.
Yeah, that's humanity. And that is the biggest problem with companies. They are still getting this freaking viral IV in their damn veins, and it's not helping them at all.
Even if they're not thinking about virality,
Yeah.
I feel like the way most companies are producing content these days is me. Look at my product. Everyone's going to care about my product.
Interesting.
No one gives a fuck about your product or your brand.
No.
Nobody cares. You got to provide interesting content and storytelling. I tell my companies all the time, like, nobody cares about your brand. You need to provide value.
Absolutely.
The way the psychology of these apps work is when someone goes on this app, you have about 0.5 seconds before someone makes a decision. Is this video going to be valuable to me or is it not? If it's not, you're done. Your video flopped. But if in that half a second, you're able to capture their attention to be like, I'm going to get something out of this, whether it's an interesting story, some comedic relief, maybe it's something interesting I'm going to learn, maybe it's a recipe, I don't know what it is, but something of value. That is the human psychology.
Absolutely.
And companies miss this point completely, and that's why their content just falls flat every time. And you look at these companies that are worth billions of dollars, and you go on their TikTok, and they have 200 views on every video.
Yeah.
And they probably spent, I kid you not, $100,000 a month on fancy content marketing agencies that have no fucking clue what they're doing.
There are more managers than creators.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. It's like you've got to have a guy who's an authentic creator. I'm under the belief that within the next 2 or 3 years, it is going to become a standard to have at every company, whether it be a startup or even a large business, public and all, a group of people who are creators that are managing the social media, not we have a social media girl and she, it's like, it's cute.
And then we have our design team.
Yeah.
And then we have our video team.
It's like, no. This guy is obsessed with making content, and this guy actually has a brain. He's a little bit more dialed back, and he's more so like, okay, we have to be within schedule. Those two, or whatever, girl and guy, go, right? It's a lot more effective than having a Tuesday meeting, and that's not effective at all.
Yeah.
It's social media is a dog-eat-dog world where it's like nobody's waiting for you.
Yeah.
If something is happening and you got to cover that story, you need to get access right now.
Yep.
Like we need access to the CFO because we need to talk about this. Mm-hmm. There's a finance trend happening. We need to talk to him because people are talking about money right now and we need his opinion on this. It's got to be like that. And if it's not like that, then how are you expecting to achieve success?
Dude, I had a client yesterday. He had something super timely. He texted me. He's like, hey, I think we should get this out tonight. I'm like, all right, I'm on it. Usually I have my team do it.
Yeah.
But this one we jumped in and on his TikTok account where he has no followers, he's a brand new client. He got, I think, 40,000 views on it. And on Instagram, he's at 50,000 views on it. And this was just because we got it out in time and it was timely. But what you're saying is so on point. I think I think that's going to be one trend. And I think the other trend is businesses will finally learn to lean into individual brands, like personal brands, as opposed to company brands. And that's like the whole premise of my agency. Yeah. Like whenever a company calls me, they're like, oh, we need product videos. I'm like, I don't do product videos. I don't do company videos. I don't do company manifestos. I don't do any of that shit. I work with people. So give me the best person in your company that you think will like perform on camera. Who's the guy that when they're talking, you just want to hear everything the guy has to say. You just like, wow, I want to hear this guy. That's the guy I want.
The personality.
And so, I have certain clients, like I have this client, this lawyer. He's fantastic. Yeah. First time he got on camera, he was horrendous. But after a little bit of practice, he's amazing. And he's an IP attorney. He's an IP attorney, and we talk about interesting things in the world from an IP attorney's view. Yeah. And when we talk about it in a timely manner, like you said, it goes crazy viral.
He would not know how to do that
on his own.
In addition to that, his social media person, the person who hangs out on Instagram and tries to find trends all day.
No clue.
He or she won't understand that either.
And a big part of it is it's not just him talking about it.
Yeah.
But he talks for 5 minutes. I got to cut that down to 30 seconds. That is a big skill. In order to learn how to take the most important parts, sometimes I take sentences from the end, I put it in the beginning, I change things. Sometimes I have an AI voice put in words that he didn't say. Obviously, he approves it first. But like, you need to know, like you said, that skill of taking something complex and making it simple. That is the skill.
You want to know a system? Because I just shot a video with Breeze.
Yeah.
So
how'd that happen, by the way?
So Breeze is it's an incredible company, and I actually deleted Twitter because I had to, the app, not my account. I became too addicted, but I love Twitter. And
our social media guys get addicted to our product.
Yes.
I have a solution for that. We'll talk about it soon.
So I'm addicted to Twitter, and this guy, Aaron Nosbish, is absolutely blowing up, talking about how he grew this company in less than 14 months to making millions of dollars, and it's all through short-form content. So obviously that catches my eye. That's who I am, right? So I go on my Instagram, reach out to him. Turns out he lives in Florida as well, South Florida.
All the good people
Takes me a month, 2 months to finally get to him, but we get together.
Yeah.
And, I'm there, and I show up with my iPhone, and I always do everything iPhone content, as we were talking about. And, we film all of this great content together, talking about the company, talking about his story, etc. But then I have to come back home, and I've got to edit this thing. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because the system that I've come up with is, okay, I've got all of this information now from him. This is not my first time doing a video like this. I've done it before. And I've got to now condense this. It was about 45 minutes, maybe less, maybe 40 minutes worth of footage. I've got to condense it now into 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. What do I do? So I first started out with, okay, I got to make a script, right? Because I have to tell this story with him. But what are the most interesting parts of his story? So I made a checklist. Okay, the fact that he's doing $2.5 million a month is obviously one of the most interesting parts of the story. The fact that they're projected to do $25 million this year. The fact that he is just at his computer and he never even sees the product anymore. Now all the product is just being moved in 3PLs, and he's just at his computer all day, and that's how he's running his business, right? The fact that he works out of his home and it's all remote, like you start to go through everything and start to realize, okay, I know what's interesting. I also know the hierarchy of what is more interesting than the other. So that's where I'm going to place it in this story. And then you start to write your script based off of, just checking off the list. I've got to say $2.5 million a month first. Boom, check that off the list. This guy, and once you've checked everything off the list and the storyline follows the hierarchy, it doesn't necessarily have to follow a linear hierarchy, but the storyline has to be linear where it makes sense and everything pieces in together. Now you've got a brilliant script.
And you got to have that dopamine hit every 4 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, those interesting facts are the dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the system that I've come up with to do that.
That's so smart. I feel like I do that just like subconsciously, but
Absolutely
I think you just sort of like crystallize it. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's a good clip, by the way. Yeah. Do it for the clips. Yeah, amazing. So That format was incredible. But back to like the companies and the personal brand, because I feel like there's so much there. You know, I wanna ask your opinion on Meta and what Meta is doing, because from my perspective, I see what Meta is doing, and they're one of the very few companies that actually get it, because they actually own the platforms, I would assume. But you look at what they're doing with Mark Zuckerberg.
Absolutely.
Zuckerberg went from pale robot that everyone hated, from Mr. Steal Your Data to Mr. Steal Your Girl. Like, he's cool now, right? He does jujitsu with celebrities. He's hanging out with like the coolest people. He's at these like that like billionaire Indian wedding, right?
Yeah.
He's like, did you see that hype video yesterday of him like recovering from ACL surgery?
I saw something with,
dude, the guy's a beast.
Yeah, he's
like,
a beast.
And you look at the comments and everyone's like loving new Mark. And if you notice, every company announcement lately comes from either Mark Zuckerberg or Adam Mosseri's page. Not from the official pages, but from @Zuck. Why? Because they know that people connect with people, not with faceless brands. And the Meta PR team, it's just a masterclass of what they were able to do with him, because they took this guy that everyone hated. Literally, they hated. You were looking at the time when he was testifying in Congress, where he was all pale, and like they somehow made him cool. He has a chain now, and now they're running it all through him. And you look at Meta's stock price; it correlates with his personal brand.
I spoke to some folks over at Meta, and I could tell you, I have many friends who interviewed Mark Zuckerberg. I know some of the people that are on his team, right, direct team. And when I spoke to them, I'll tell you that one of the biggest things that they would tell me is that it's not that all of a sudden people are realizing that Mark Zuckerberg is cool. It's that Mark was always cool. And that he just never really expressed it publicly. A lot of times, early days of Silicon Valley, or in general, the past 20 years, it was very much so act very put together, professional.
Yeah.
But then, you start to see people like Elon Musk who are loved by all, and they're not professional. He's not a professional guy.
I wouldn't say all at this point, but yeah, most.
Loved or hated, he has their attention. And
attention is the most expensive thing right now.
And they don't unanimously hate him.
Right.
You can't get everyone to love you.
Of course.
But you can get people to like you a lot, a large side. And that's what he has, right?
Yeah.
And I think that Mark, when you look at the early videos of Mark, he is literally 21 years old or 20 years old, sitting at the early offices at Facebook, drinking out of a red foam cup, right? I think he's like in his like dorm room.
Yeah.
And he's like talking about how he came up with the poking feature because he was drunk one day. And like you could tell, like that was a kid who was awesome. But then the more wealthy he became, the more that whatever money and fame probably intimidated him, the more that he probably gated himself back, kept his real personality.
Yeah.
When in reality, he was always awesome. It's not like he just became good at jiu-jitsu yesterday.
Right.
He was doing this for years.
Right.
It's not that he just learned how to surf. He was doing this, but, it wasn't necessarily being expressed because the right people weren't around him telling him, yo, you should tell this, like what you do. You should talk about that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
exactly. Nobody was telling him that.
Right.
And that's, it kind of...
all he needed, this is the craziest part. Like, literally all he needed was a camera guy to follow him around and, like, some, like, creative strategist. And, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And that added, what, $100 million to Meta's, like,
probably more,
stock price?
Probably more.
It's insane.
Billions,
like, what were you doing, bro? But I'm glad they figured it out, because they were putting on a masterclass, and I'm able to tell all my potential clients about this. And they're like,
they're my favorite company right now. I mean, the fact, going back to what I was talking about before, 9 out of 10 companies, they're spending most of their marketing budget on Meta, means how good of a business that is.
Yeah.
Love TikTok. Instagram is still way better. Sorry.
TikTok's got some...
Yeah.
They've got advantages, but it's also like it's a risky sort of platform at this point.
Yeah, it's owned by China. Like, it's very sus. It feels like a propaganda machine, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm actually, whatever. I'm working on a little AI tool for TikTok where you upload your video and it will tell you before you post it if it's likely to be suppressed from anything you might have said. Like maybe you said kill, and you should say unalive.
Interesting.
Like
You
it's
told
a
me
whole
about this.
yeah, it's a whole game. So we're almost done. We're almost done with this. We'll launch it soon. But yeah,
There it is. There's the entrepreneur. There it
exactly.
is. Yeah.
No, it's like
you failed to mention
it's like
that at the beginning.
80% there. I'm not happy with where it's a little hacky right now, but it works. But
I'm excited to use it. I'm excited to use it.
Yeah, we need to get it there. But I want to talk about some of your friends that you've developed, right? You spoke about some guys who have done videos for Meta and stuff, and like you were saying before, companies are leaning into creators finally. They're finally understanding. So I know you're friends with Roberto Nixon, right?
Yeah.
RPN. He got the it's really good to work for Meta because then you could get the really cool
He doesn't work
Instagram
for Meta.
names.
He's just very close with Meta.
Okay.
Close. Yeah.
Well, he works with them.
Yeah.
And then there's like Kane Calloway is another
Absolutely,
one.
yeah.
There's a bunch of them. But like, how'd you develop that relationship? And
So funny enough, I'll tell you that I was the DM king, right? In my early days, what I would do is, when I say early days, when I was in my earlier days of the story that I gave you of being in crypto and blockchain, when I was having that growth within the blockchain community, I would DM everybody who I found interesting. And I would get probably answered 3 times out of 10. Whatever my response rate got higher, the better I got at DMing people. And I built some of the most awesome relationships doing that.
Wow.
Just by messaging people. Because oftentimes, by the way, they perhaps wanted to talk to you or they just never had the courage to do it. Sometimes you'd find that, holy shit, I didn't even realize this guy follows me. And all it takes is a simple DM, and the next thing you know, you've built an awesome relationship. And Roberto, yeah.
That's why we're here, bro.
Exactly.
I think I DM'd you.
Yeah, it's possible. You did. I don't even remember, dude. But I'm happy you did if you did, right? And I think that the idea is that, Roberto, he actually runs this page called Metaverse. He's been running Metaverse for a while. And Roberto is an absolute king. I don't know if you know this, but he's a king of running faceless pages.
Really?
Like, the guy has built, like Puberty, those kind of faceless vibes. He knows, his name is, he goes by like SMK, whatever. He knows him, and like, he's been building faceless pages for 10 years, I believe, or more.
Wow.
And they all have 1 million+ followers. Like, I mean, it's insane. Aluna, I don't know if it has 1 million, but it's still crazy. And I DM'd him on Metaverse. I didn't even know who he looked like. And we got to talking. Whenever we continued the relationship, he invited me to a party in New York. He was throwing a party at a club. I was 20 years old, and I'm like, dude, I can't even come. I'm 20. Like, it was crazy. And like, we ended up building this relationship over time. And I met with him in he lives in North Carolina. I met with him in North Carolina, and he's an awesome dude.
He seems super genuine.
He's a stand-up individual. He's got, from what I've seen, he's a family man. He has great values, really level-headed. People these days are losing their effing mind.
Yeah.
He seems to have his shit together.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's awesome.
What I noticed like so incredibly was like lately Meta's playbook is like we'll announce with our guys, and then we'll go to Roberto, we'll go to this guy, and like so what he had a major launch. Was it the Ray-Ban glasses or something?
Yeah.
That they gave to him. I find that's like incredible. That like
yeah. So what it seems is happening over there at Meta, because they'll give me some tips as well. And Meta's not the only company doing this now. I've had other companies that would. What's happening is they're recognizing there's something called I'm forgetting the name. There's something where you get a tip from a business before the announcement is made, so that you can prepare your article.
It's under embargo.
Yes, that's smart guy. Okay, so what's happening is they realized the Wall Street Journal, all these effing companies that they loved so much, they're not necessarily getting as much. They don't have as much pull as creators do. So the embargo is now being transferred over from the journalists who work for these companies to creators. So what they're doing is they're giving them access to information before information goes live. And a lot of creators would love to have this information early on, because then they can prepare the video. And the moment it goes live, they can launch the video. And then it has the opportunity to go viral quicker because they were the first to cover it.
Yeah.
And that strategy is working.
Wow.
Because creators speak a lot better to people than newspapers do.
Dude, it's so funny that you said that, because I was talking to one of my mentors last week, and he said, you should be working with PR agencies.
Yeah.
Because PR agencies know how to do TV and newspapers, but they have no clue how to do social. And like, especially when you're representing an individual, like, why not have your your own narrative told on your own page in your own words, as opposed to some random ass reporter who works for the New York Times who's going to skew your story, right? Why don't you give them that capability and partner up with them? And so I feel like this whole world of PR is completely changing, and it's shifting to social media. And so like PR, social marketing, it's like the rule book has gone out the window. It's like it's totally being reinvented right now, and people are missing the boat.
You've got to understand social. You have to understand the youth. You've got to understand social media, the culture. That's the most important thing, is understanding the culture. You can't drop the ball. You know how many times people have done massive marketing campaigns and they've dropped the ball?
All the time.
Yeah, and you can't do that. You need to understand the culture of video game culture. You've got to understand. So, it's they have these new roles at companies. It's crazy to say, but like there's like chief meme officer.
No way.
Yeah, dude, Biden had a chief meme officer.
Biden had a chief meme officer?
Before he dropped out, they hired a chief meme officer.
Kamala must have one.
Absolutely.
She must have 10.
She must have 35
By the
people
way,
that,
you know what's crazy? I was looking at the two candidates' social media accounts. Like I was expecting, like I was looking at their TikTok pages.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting, and Trump had been the nominee for like a while. I was expecting a lot of content there. There were like 5 videos. They all had tons of views. Great. There were like 5 videos. Kamala announced like the day before. She had like 40 videos.
The PR team behind the social team behind Kamala is probably the number one on the whole world.
Yeah. Do you know who they are?
I don't know, but they've somehow done something to get the world to like love this girl. I'm not saying no opinions over here.
No opinions over here. We're just talking about the social.
We're just talking.
Actually, if you want to fight in the comments, go for it, guys. Exactly.
Go to YouTube, talk shit about us right now.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
But basically, I've noticed that in a span of hours, this girl, as you mentioned, was flooded with millions of views on her socials and has now become like this like hero. And where was she? Beforehand, nobody was really talking about her when she was vice president. There was no content on her, so they're not recycling this content.
No, brand new.
It's brand new content.
They've capitalized on the word brat all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I had never heard of brat before, but like Kamala is brat, and they're using the Gen Z green. They got to have a lot of Gen Z kids there for sure.
They know what they're doing. They've hired people who are authentic, and they have people who understand the psychology of the internet. Yeah.
You know what I saw that she did yesterday? I mean, this is just like this is a gangster move. Like she opened up an account on Truth Social, which is Donald Trump's social media app, and she posted like a meme, which was like Trump and Kamala doing a rally in like the same auditorium, and it was like Trump's crowd and her crowd looked like double. Some people were saying it might be digitally altered. I don't even know, but like on Trump's own app.
Yeah, she didn't think of that. She didn't think of that.
No, obviously.
She didn't. Trump would think of that, because he has that vibe, but you see, that's her team for sure.
Totally. It's totally her team. I feel like maybe Trump doesn't like giving control. I don't know exactly, but I will say that I feel like, this goes back to, I would notice when Biden was tweeting, and like this was like when he was like, no one saw him, and you look every time he tweeted, just every response was like, who's writing this? Who's doing this? Which staffer's doing this? Like it was so obvious that it wasn't him. It was so like non-genuine. I just did a LinkedIn post about this, that video you can't really fake. I mean, you can with AI. Like you'll be able to fake it like very soon, very well. But for right now, today, video's authentic. Mm-hmm. When you're doing text, when you're doing tweets, LinkedIn posts, op-eds, whatever it is, any ghostwriter can do that. It's not genuine. And so I feel like this teams they're leaning into video. They're leaning into it, and and the craziest part, back to Kamala for a second, they're embracing her craziest moments, like her coconut tree line.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They call themselves Team Project Coconut.
Because they know that that's how it's a group of people who understand leveraging your most viral moments and twisting it to become a positive as opposed to negative.
Right. Like imagine if Trump was turned into, I don't know, like bleach cleaners or something like that. That's the one attack they use. Like, who would imagine that you would lean into something stupid that you said? But they're leaning the fuck in, and it's crazy how it's working.
I mean, it's interesting to see. And I think that a large reason why so many people have become so much more authentic on their Twitters is because of what you said. this whole PC, we were talking about this being presentable. That world has become so compromised by teams that the average consumer can read past it immediately. You know how like when you're scrolling on a website and all the ad banners, like your brain knows to ignore that? You know, we have become, humans are very, survival of the fittest. We have become adaptive, and we have adapted to the fact that whenever somebody is writing something that was made by a team and it's not authentic, we know.
Totally. And not just that. I feel like when you're on TikTok, the tonality in someone's voice, you can tell if they're selling something or not.
Absolutely.
And I try to do this with my clients all the time. Like they start talking, I'm like, you're using your sales voice. I need you to stop that. I need you to like talk to me like a human. And I feel like you just have this, it's so funny to say that. Like people have this ability to instantly tell if it's an ad. But the really good ads, and probably the visible ads, you don't even notice it's an ad until like the little TikTok thing pops up.
I mean, even when it is an ad, sometimes the ad is so good that they're still willing to watch.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think the best, I work with clients all the time and I tell them the best ads are the best organic videos too. And so why test a bunch of budget against a bunch of creatives that you don't know if they're going to perform? Let's throw it out on the apps, test it on Instagram, test it on TikTok, test a couple of different versions too. Let the algorithms work for you for free. Look at the data, and whatever was your best performer, turn that into an ad.
You want to know what I did to get my first client on Visible?
Tell me.
So there was this, I just launched Visible internally. I didn't even make a public announcement for Visible. And I found this company called Brick. And I freaking loved it. And it was brilliant. It was simple, most importantly, and it was effective, and I resonated with it. So, we had discussed on Twitter, potentially creating some sort of a deal where I would get a discount code for my audience, and I would, take some sort of affiliate kickback on every sale that I generate. I knew it wasn't going to do, much. But
That was a sale.
You were.
I bought. I saw your video, and I'm like, I heard of the product before, but after I saw your video, I bought it.
Visible. Yeah, so
Visible.io?
Visit my website.
Is it .io?
Yeah.
Okay.
Visible.io, there's not a second I, and go to my website. Okay. But basically...
There's not a second I?
There's not a second I. It's just... Listen, Visible.io, spelled visible correctly, was very expensive.
Okay,
we'll be there soon.
Okay, anyways, back to Brick.
So basically, we worked out this deal where I get an affiliate kickback on the product. I made this video. I worked my ass off on this video. And I posted the video on my Instagram and my TikTok and my LinkedIn. And the video did extremely well. I think cumulative over 100,000 views. And it was an ad purely for the product. And I told my audience, I said, listen, I'm not being paid for this video. I worked really hard on this video, and I just like the product a lot. And what happened is the numbers were just so good on that video. I called them and I set up a call with them and I said, listen, guys, the numbers here are so impressive. We have to work out some sort of a deal to work together where I give you the rights to amplify this video, right? And they ended up becoming a client of mine. And I produced more content for them as well. And by the way, the other videos that I made for them theoretically were more cinematic and they should have performed better. But there was no test for them. And there was a test for that one. And it turns out that was the video that is currently, as we're speaking, is generating the most amount of revenue and for their ad spend.
So funny. Like you said, the best organic makes the best paid.
The best organic, that's what you said.
I said it.
You said it, yeah.
But what's funny? I had done a couple of ads for people too. There was this kid who he had this T-shirt brand. It was like high quality T-shirts at like low price, whatever.
Yeah.
So I made him like a quick video just talking about like how like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, they have the same wardrobe because they want staples they can count on every day. And it was like a very like genuine video talking about like tech entrepreneurs. Okay. Like it was his #1 performing ad, and he was on actually and he was just like sent me some free shit for it. And I actually had to call him and tell him to stop running it because people thought it was my company. Because like,
wow.
I saw a guy in the airport and he's like, how's the T-shirt business?
Holy shit.
And once that happened, I called him. I'm like, I need you to pull the ad right now or share revenue.
That happened to me. I mean, I started in the streets right now. My wife is getting texts from her friends talking about my Brick ad.
You're the Brick guy.
Yeah, I'm the Brick guy. And I'm like, dude, I worked my ass off for freaking 5 years to make content. I have conversations with Mark Zuckerberg in his comment section, and everyone recognizes me as this Brick guy now. But you know what? Listen, I love it. And that it was my first visible client. So they are my first visible client. So I still at the end, officially, right? I've worked with consulting, but officially since the launch of the business. And I embraced it. You know, I said, you know what? That's part of the game, and I've got to be happy about that.
That's the testimonial. It worked so well that they think I'm the brick guy.
They've become famous because of it.
So tell me, what's the future of Visible? You know, because it's got to expand from just Joe and videos.
Absolutely.
Right. So what's the future? How are you looking to build this out, and you know, where do you see this thing going?
So the truth is that you and I both know the value of a content creator.
Yeah.
So I realized, as we were talking about, companies don't realize the value of content creators. They just think, hey, I'm just going to give you some money, post it, and shut up.
Yep.
That's not how I look at this world. So what I realize is I obviously can't be in every ad, but there are other great content creators who would be more fitting for a certain product or service than I could be anyways, right? So let's just say a wig company comes to me. Right? Let's keep it random. I always love random examples. Then I will find somebody who has an audience who happens to love wigs, you know, and it's not necessarily a mother who you know is in fashion. It has to be somebody who specifically speaks to an audience of people who's into weird fashion, right? Because they need to be willing to one day show up with pink hair.
Right.
So I would find that girl who has an audience of people that are into weird fashion, who's passionate about weird fashion. Then I would say, hey, listen, I'm coming to you with this ad, but we're not coming to you to post this on your platform. We want you to we'll work with you on the video, where you just got to, we'll work with you on the script as well. And then once you're done, send it to me. I'll help you edit it as well. You know, I'm trying to take as much labor off them as possible. And obviously I have my skills of editing and script writing that I want to implement into them as well. And then, I'll then run that ad with the company, right? So it's done by an authentic content creator who understands how to speak to the core customer. It's edited by myself and my team who knows how to create an engaging ad. And I want to scale that to the point where I'm helping businesses grow tremendously without spending the amounts of money that they were spending previously. Of course, obviously everything has a cost, right? Marketing has a cost, but just extremely effective short-form content that's authentic and feels right when it's on your feed.
So tell me how this is different from UGC and your thoughts on the UGC industry.
Because UGC was...
Well, user-generated content, for those that don't know.
UGC was get as many content creators to talk about our product as possible, throw as much as we can at the ad spend, and then see what works best. By the way, great idea. Do it. I'm not neglecting that. There are companies like Breeze, for example, they're crushing it on that. But there is nothing like a properly edited, written, good cinematic filmed, but still organic style video. That will perform. If 30 UGC video, it takes 30 UGC videos to get one amazing one, it'll take 5 to get one amazing one with this system. And that's what I realized. You know how you have these, like a Dollar Shave Club, right? Let's talk. Do you remember Dollar Shave Club?
Of course I do. I know the ad by heart.
So
I know Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis.
You remember that ad?
Yeah. To this day.
That's an ad that was scripted to perfection. I can imagine that guy he wrote everything down. He didn't have a lot of massive studio. He was walking around his warehouse. The story was like his friend's dad's warehouse.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't even his warehouse.
It wasn't even his warehouse. It was his basically the story of Dollar Shave Club is, from the way I understand it, his friend's dad had a bunch of shitty shavers. And he's like, I've got to sell these shavers, and this guy's like, you know what, I'll help you save it. Let me call, this website Dollar Shave Club and let me just sell these shitty shavers for you.
And this guy was in media.
Exactly. So he understood that the script was more important, than anything. That's how you make a great ad. The creative has to be good. And that's the model here is, okay, we all love short form content, but nobody is out there making the best freaking short form ads in the whole world. It's still people like, hey guys, you guys.
You should buy these razors.
I totally love this, hair shampoo, and you're like, dude, enough. This is my whole TikTok feed. Come on, it's become annoying. Mm-hmm. Eventually our brains are going to ignore that.
Yeah.
And I'm predicting that. That's the whole prediction I'm making. So we have to stand out.
Yeah.
And that's visible.
Wow. That's amazing. So UGC, you see it dying, but that whole industry was tremendous for so long.
It still is. It's amazing still. It's still awesome. To a certain degree, right? TikTok Shop. Breeze is doing, if I'm not mistaken, I think they did $400,000 last month on the TikTok Shop alone.
Wow.
They're the #1 beverage company on the TikTok Shop right now.
Is Brick selling on TikTok?
Funny enough, no, they're not, but it's something that I'm discussing with them. But it's hard to get accepted now. Before it was easy, now it's hard.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you know about TikTok Shop? I feel like I'm behind. I'm very behind on that because I'm not in the e-com world.
It's so funny. I'm not very much involved in the TikTok Shop either because for some reason I don't have access. Because when I downloaded TikTok, I was out of the country, and I was in a country that it's not accessible today.
And you can't change it.
Because my SIM card was in that country.
You know what's so funny?
Yeah.
I opened a client account when I was in Mexico, and I can't change it back to the U.S., even though I've been in the U.S. for like a year with this account.
Stupid.
Whatever. Anyways.
TikTok, you're stupid.
Yeah, TikTok,
So,
they've got bigger problems to deal with, like the federal government shutting them down, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, but TikTok's got... I mean, honestly, like TikTok is a fickle bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I have a video with literally 600,000 views, and the next video has 200 views.
I know it's...
What is that, bro?
They're still on the dopamine wave. Meaning, the thing about TikTok is that they have completely... there's this guy, the founder of Patreon. I don't know if you know him.
Jack Conte.
Yes, you do know. You both shared that video. So the thing about him was that he's betting on this fact that social media is not social anymore. It's just media. And Instagram still has this little hint of, if you have the followers, your followers will see the video. As long as you're not completely dropping the ball, to a certain degree. TikTok will literally... I have videos I could show you. I have 130,000 followers on TikTok. These days, for some reason, my videos don't break 1,000 views.
Wow.
That should be illegal.
Yeah.
That's rude.
Yeah.
It's probably because I'm shadow banned for some reason.
No.
Maybe not. I mean, I had a video
I honestly think
that shadow ban doesn't exist.
I think the shadow ban is not a real thing. I feel like a lot of people are like, I'm shadow banned. I'm like, I think client accounts are shadow banned too. And then I put out a good video and it gets 50,000 views. It's about like at the end of the day, we got to look internally. We got to like self-reflect.
Facts.
And like sometimes like your video just wasn't that good, bro. Facts. And like if it was an amazing video, it would perform. Like, yes, it is bullshit that you get 200 views on an account with 130,000 followers. I have a client with, I think she has like 12 million followers. We posted a video. I think it like flagged something in the content moderation. Also, 300 views. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
You have 12 million followers and you get 300 views? Not normal.
It's weird. I mean, that's the thing. What's really weird, when it happens the reverse way, I'm not very confused. But what confuses me a lot is when something will go viral on Instagram but not on TikTok. I had a video go absolutely viral on TikTok, but not on Instagram. And I understand that because TikTok has a younger demographic, right? Like that video in particular, I was talking about speed, and it got 2 million plus views on TikTok. But not necessarily, it didn't do so well on Instagram. Speed
the drug or Speed the movie or
Speed the vlog, the streamer.
Oh, I show Speed.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. So you thought I was talking about the drug.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The average TikTok user knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I know him as I show Speed.
Exactly. So I didn't say I show Speed. I just showed Speed.
I was on a flight with him a couple weeks ago.
That's random.
I didn't chat with him because whatever. But yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, that's so. There are times where it's like, okay, the demographic is just not the same. But then when the demographic lines up and it doesn't happen, I get very confused. It boggles my mind. But whatever, that's a side point.
Yeah, I mean, the apps are amazing, and you have like such an opportunity for viral growth. And I say all the time, I'm not sure who I'm stealing this from, but it's the first time in human history that you have most of the world's population, billions of people on like 7 digital platforms, and you can reach every single one of them for free for $0. Absolutely. That is the wildest thing. Like if you told someone even 10 years ago that it would be possible that I could open an account on a social network, post a video, and 10 million people would see it, you'd be out of your mind. But I haven't, I'm not special, and I've done that multiple times. Like, I've had client accounts that I opened, and the second video we posted got 3 million views. I had an account on TikTok, it had 12 followers, posted a video, I think it got like 4 million views. Like, it's crazy what this has done. And what you were saying before about putting video everywhere is TikTok changed the game. Vertical video, short-form video works everywhere. And so if you're only posting to Instagram, you are leaving millions of views on the table because I can't tell you how many times, like you said, a client video will go viral on one platform and flop on the other. All the time.
LinkedIn right now is the meta. That's where you should go.
Yeah.
That's the alpha. Sorry.
You're killing it on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you. But what you're saying is, I had a meeting earlier this year with one of probably the biggest meeting of my whole life. I was working with a startup company, and we were trying to raise capital. And long story short, we somehow end up getting a meeting with an asset management group who manages over $1 trillion.
Wow.
People watching this?
$1 trillion?
$1 trillion.
Like 1,000 billion.
There are only a handful, so if you're looking at them, it was one of those. And we're trying to raise money from these people. They don't really invest in startups, but we still try doing it anyways. And we're a social media platform that was doing short form content, so how do I convince them to believe in this, right? And I was going really internal, and I was thinking about what you were saying. And I realized, because I'm a self-proclaimed history junkie. I like history a lot. The printing press, when the printing press came out, people were losing their damn minds because news was spreading faster than ever. Holy shit. You could print something about yesterday's news and have it across the world in no time. Before, everything had to be handwritten, right? Whatever it was. Now, it doesn't matter. Just, like paper done. Send it out, right? Short form content TikTok is not merely a new app. It's a new form of media that's as significant as the printing press, if not more, because anybody has the opportunity to go viral, as you mentioned, and reach billions of people. It takes no time to spread, and it takes no time to create, and it takes no time to consume. It is literally a form of media that is more advanced than anything we ever had before.
And it costs $0.
And it costs $0. And that's what everybody needs to internalize. If you are a massive business that's not taking short form content seriously, it's like you are somebody who is neglecting the printing press back in the 1700s, whatever it was. I don't remember. But that's very, very important to recognize. Yeah, sorry, just amped up right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're good. You're good. By the way, do we have a hard stop at 4? Do you have someone coming in? Okay, so we can go till.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, like we said, businesses are just not getting it. I mean, they'll get it eventually, but they'll be like so far behind. But
no, they're getting it now. They're getting it. It's just they're a little confused and they don't know how to approach it. And unfortunately, there are a lot of unqualified people who are making the sale. Because if you are an amazing salesman, but you don't have a qualified team, like you are probably more inclined to get that massive contract than somebody who's not a good salesman, who is qualified. So those are the people who are landing a lot of these contracts, and it's unfortunate because, that's just life, though. Welcome to life. Right?
Anyways, did you close that $1 trillion company?
No.
Okay, that's all right. You win some, you lose
some.
some.
Dude, you have no idea how hard it is to convince $1 trillion. They're not a company, but like $1 trillion company. They're an asset management group, so they manage over $1 trillion. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes you just gotta walk away. But yeah. I mean, this world, it's so new and it's so different, and I see these companies. And I see the way they put out content, and I look at their pages, and okay, I'll tell you something. I can't reveal the company name, but they're a Fortune 100. Okay, not a 500, Fortune 100. Yeah. And I spoke to someone who works there in the marketing department, and I was talking about the amount they spend on their social, and he didn't say the exact number, but I believe it was like 6 figures. So they're spending over like $100,000 for like 3 videos, not even like for the month.
Holy shit.
Like for 3 videos, they're spending $100,000. And he told me the videos are shit. They get no views. The only reason there are views is because we put ad spend behind it. They are so bad. Can you imagine spending $33,000 a video?
Do we need those contracts? But that's what I'm trying to say. Like,
that's what I'm working on.
Good for that guy.
Yeah.
Good for the guy who sold 3 videos for $100,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you process that, it's like there's one way of looking at it, which is like, oh, like they're being screwed. The other way is like, wow, there's somebody out there who's willing to pay $100,000 for 3 videos.
Yeah.
Like, come on, that's amazing,
dude. We're close to getting there, but
that's crazy.
But I feel like the industry is dominated by these legacy agencies that started 10 years ago that have an account manager and a this manager and a that manager and a manager for the bathroom and a manager for the coffee and like everything's just fucking bureaucratic and you got to pay 25 salaries to get out 1 video. Whereas me, it's like I get 1 dude to film, I got 1 dude to edit, I have AI do like a lot of the stuff on the back end, and like boom, I created a video that's 10x better than this team did, and we can do it at such a better rate. and the quality is so much better. So I feel like these small agencies like short form media, like Visible, are going to be able to make this content that is so much better than what these super expensive agencies are putting out. And companies are still throwing money down the drain with these
But you know
guys.
what a huge thing about it is? A lot of the times, like imagine, God willing, short form media, you guys blow up and you guys become a $100 million business and you are cruising, right? You're doing podcasts, talking like you're the shit. Right? I'm kidding. But
I'm nobody.
You're
it's whatever God throws my way.
You're chilling, right? Thank God. So what happens is that the videos are no longer being managed by you, and you're not over their shoulder making sure they're doing a good job. And eventually, 1 year goes by, 2 years, 3 years goes by, and the videos are all sucking now. You know, and that's what happens a lot of the times. It starts really authentic and real, and then it sizzles out.
Yep.
So that's why in the beginning of our conversation I was talking to you about that, like how do you make sure that once you create those systems that it still maintains that level of authenticity and it's still good, like you were still there. It's really about, I think what's going to happen is you have to put in place incredible, authentic, creative managers, people who care. And they're still waking up in the morning like, I want to make a good freaking video today.
Yeah.
As opposed to like those people that are just jaded. And you've got to learn how to incentivize them with, that's like the thing is like those people, those companies, a lot of times started out good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's 1,000% about the people.
Yeah.
And when I started the agency, I had half a dozen people reach out to me. They wanted to work for me. I said no to everybody.
Wow.
Like I didn't even know what I had. I couldn't do it.
Because you couldn't because you couldn't handle it, or you
no,
didn't?
just because I didn't know if they could like do the creative stuff that I wanted. I didn't know if they were authentic,
Your
and
team.
also
Your
I was
team
just
or who?
No, for like the people that wanted to work for me.
Oh, the clients. Okay.
And so, but recently I had a guy who one of these guys who reached out to me. His name is Shai. He's amazing, and we would just nerd out on video stuff all the time. And we'd be constantly talking about like, why did this go viral? Why did that go viral? And we're constantly talking, well, the hook on this was great. And for a year and a half, we were doing this. And then one day he calls me up. He's like, hey, and this guy's been in video for a while. He's like, it's incredible what you built. Like, he's like, I just want to learn from you. He's like, I'll do whatever you want. He's like, I'll pay you.
And he joined the team.
I hired him as my creative director. It's my first big hire, Shai Connect.
Mazal tov.
Yeah,
I'm
so
so
he was my
happy.
first big, but like,
I know
it's
him.
the people. Yeah, of course you know Shai, because Shai's in the comments.
Yeah.
Shai is definitely in the
I
comments.
read my comments, people. I read them.
Mark Zuckerberg and Shai Connect. That's who's in your comments. But yeah, Shai's incredible. And it's all about the people because he cares. He really cares about good content. He just wants to make creative stuff that like lots of people see. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I'm starting to implement now with my editing team. So I'm building out an editing team in Bulgaria. I was just there. It's a funny story.
You went to Bulgaria?
I was just in Bulgaria.
Wow.
Let me tell you how I found my editing team. It's a great story. It's a DM story. Okay. I forgot the year, maybe like 2016, 2017. I was building Wavecar, and I was like, I love getting selfies with celebrities. And so I'm in LA. I saw like Gary Vaynerchuk was staying at the SLS, so I like hopped over and I got a selfie with Gary Vaynerchuk. And then I saw Casey Neistat was recording a video by the Santa Monica beach. Mm-hmm. I saw it on Snapchat real time. I was 2 blocks away, so I drove over with one of our cars, and we actually did a promotion together for Beam, his startup.
No way.
Yeah, but I got a selfie as well. Mm-hmm. I get a random message from this kid in Bulgaria, this redhead kid in Bulgaria, that says, dude, my 2 favorite people are Casey Neistat and Gary Vaynerchuk, and you have a selfie with both. I'm so jealous of you. That was the intro.
On Snapchat.
No, Instagram. On Instagram.
Sorry.
And okay, fine. Haha, thanks so much, man. Random kid in my followers. Yeah. Okay. Fast forward, and this kid would respond to like my stories once in a while. He would like, he got into running, and he was like one of these like weird kids in like Eastern Europe that like, all right, whatever. Like, okay, I have a fan in Bulgaria. Okay, whatever. I announce my agency. I say I'm doing short form content. He messaged me. He's like, hey man, I have a short form content business that I'm building in Bulgaria, and I have a bunch of editors. I think I can help you with your editing. And I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. And we start talking. We do a couple of projects. They, start going viral. And I'm like, oh my God, these kids know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And so from that DM, from that random kid in Bulgaria, we started working together. And now they're my primary team. And so I'm building them out. I'm helping him. I'm coaching him. And I actually flew out there to have FaceTime with them. And so it's incredible to do this. And one of the things we're doing, we're talking about incentivizing. We're starting a new program with the editors where there's a virality bonus. So if the videos you edit go viral, depending on the numbers they hit, they get a bonus. But it's the whole team. So the primary editor gets one, and the whole team shares it. So they're incentivized to learn from each other and to create amazing content. Not that's just a great story, but actually gets views for the client.
I love that.
There's a bonus for 100,000, another bonus for 500,000, and a big bonus for $1 million.
You're smart. You are smart. Yeah. Good, man. That's a brilliant. And I mean, let's talk about first of all the kid, right?
Yeah.
Because the kid. You know, I'm watching this interview right now. You should watch this interview. I mean, everyone in the audience should watch this interview. It's an interview with this guy. Oh, I forgot it. I'm so bad with names. But basically, he wrote the book called The Third Door.
Okay.
And he talks about how you can get access to anybody if you're smart enough, right? And he just did a podcast with Colin and Samir, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And he's talking about how to get access to people through emails, etc. And, you know, he talks about, you know, getting a mentor or getting access to somebody. A lot of times is 3 or 4 years of doing that, right? Just follow-ups. Hey, hope you're well. Like, oh, was thinking about you. Happy birthday, whatever it is. This guy, you know, he liked you for a reason. Sorry, what was his name?
Nicky.
Nicky liked you for a reason.
Yeah.
And he was already networking in 2016, and it paid off.
Yeah.
So if you are somebody in the audience who wants to get access to somebody, don't be that guy who, you know, it's like you meet a girl. This is actually the analogy he gives, but imagine you show up to a bar and you're just like, go to my house, or let's get married right now. Like she'd be like, get away from me. You know what I'm saying? You've got to be like, hey, like, you look awesome. Like, what's your name? You know, like, there's got to be a little bit of a riz, as they say.
Love your hair.
Yeah, just something like that. Whatever riz you have, you know, whatever your game is, you know. And then over the period of 3, 4, 5 years, something will happen as long as you're not giving it too much at once. And that's a really good life lesson right there. Kudos to Nicky.
Yeah, and what's so funny is what he told me. I'm like, how, you know, when we were out in Bulgaria, we were talking about like, how'd you find your team? It's like DMs. Every guy that he's hired has been through DMs, or either them DMing him or him DMing others. Literally, his whole business is like finding people on Instagram.
Me too. So I found my editors also.
Really?
All DMs. My core editor at the Kingzletter, and you know, also Visible. I put out a story post. I said, listen, like, I need an editor right now. It's becoming overwhelming, whatever it is. And I got a bunch of DM responses, and I understood how to. Yeah, everything is through DMs for me as well.
Wow. It's so crazy how that. I would say that the biggest cock block to that now is message requests. Yeah. Right? And so like you know when you got message requested, because honestly, if you have a video going viral, you know what it's like. Your messages are just like slammed, and like your message requests could be like 200 long. Yeah. And just like, it's not like the guy's a bad guy. They just don't practically see it for, could be weeks, or they'll never see it. And the problem with message requests, and here, Instagram, I hope you freaking hear this. The problem is, if I message someone 2 years ago, it only sends the first message. But let's say I want to send them a new message, and it's 2 years later. Like, give me a message a year, bro. One message. Let me bump up to the top of your message requests at least. Yeah. No? But they just don't even deliver it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because I saw a video with an interview with Adam Mosseri, and he's talking about how he, you know, most people think that users on Instagram are spending most of their time on the feed, when in reality they're spending a lot of time on DMs, group chats. And I realized that they treat Instagram as a messaging platform and a sense of social media. Not necessarily the social aspect of Instagram is no longer on the feed; it happens in the DMs now.
So true.
That's where, because social is about interacting with one another, but nobody's freaking interacting. Like, you know, when you see a photo of Stacy in the summer at her vacation home, you're not commenting anymore like you used to, right? Now it's all videos.
Right.
People you don't even know. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So how do they create this sense of social, right? What they do is they amplify the DMs and the group chats, and so, you know, if you could leverage that, because they want it to be good. If you know how to leverage it, you know, it's there, right? People are using it. Trust me. They're looking through their DMs, by the way. You'd be surprised.
Oh, for sure.
Even people with 1 million+ followers, they're looking through every DM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, except for Roberto. Roberto has this stupid AI feature on. So every time I try to like message him something, it's your stupid AI robot responding to me, and it's dumb as hell right now, Meta. So like turn that shit off for now.
Yeah.
So you know what, Roberto? I've been trying to message you. Fuck you, man. I love you though. You're great.
I actually saw Mark say that he felt it was not going to be very human. I don't know why they launched that. I mean, listen, maybe they wanted to be ambitious and they just wanted to like get their investors happy, or maybe like they realize it's the future and they want to tinker with it. But like, the only people who I think would like are weird and would want to do that is I don't even want to go. But like the OnlyFans girls, like like that's probably the only guys.
By the way, the OnlyFans girls have not messaged anyone ever. They have teams behind them. You know how many guys I meet here in Miami that do it for a living? They're printing money. It's disgusting.
Oh no.
Whatever.
That's a world I don't.
That's a world we're not getting into.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Let's provide. Like I feel like at the end of the day, I finally crystallized like my company's mission statement, which is like I want to elevate the world's good. Like it's so easy to elevate the world's good, and they just don't know how to tell the story. So like if I've had clients that I dropped because just I didn't like what they were selling. I just didn't feel that should be pushed to the world. They can do it with other people, just like it wasn't for me. And so that's a big part of what we do.
I had a lead today, like 11:30. I had the meeting at 11:30 today, and I was super stoked because at first I really liked their mission, and then I learned a little bit more details, and I was like, I don't know if I like this. And it's so weird because you're telling me this right now, and I might have to pass on it because it's like a sign almost. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Good stuff.
You gotta believe in what you're pushing, and if you don't, then what are you doing? But anyways,
wow,
dude, this was a great conversation. I feel like we got a good flow here.
That was good, dude. We went on enough riffs. The thing is, an hour and 46 minutes straight is not easy.
No.
Yeah, that's
with no gaps.
No, straight through. I'm parched. I'm literally.
Well, you have a full cup of water that you didn't touch once. I'm like, bro, are you gonna take a sip?
You know what they call raw dogging? You're like on a plane. I literally just raw dogged that. No water.
You just raw dogged the podcast.
Raw dogged.
There you go.
Raw dogged. All right. Well, great. Listen, this has to be posted as a podcast.
Okay, we're gonna post it.
Yeah. And if you're gonna call it For the Clips, keep the name For the Clips, whatever it is. As long as you post the damn thing and put it on Spotify.
Fine.
Whatever.
Deal.
You've got to do that. Dude.
Oh, pleasure.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. That was awesome.